Good morning, or afternoon, or middle of the night. Whatever time and wherever you're joining us from, welcome to the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos and this online video worship service for December 27, 2020. I'm Rebecca Howard, and I'm a worship associate for this congregation. Our minister, the Reverend John Cullinan, has today off, and I'm delighted to introduce our guest speaker, Theresa Cull. Theresa has been a member of the church for about 25 years. She's currently serving on the board of directors as the steward, and she is one of this year's youth teen advisors. And she recently retired from her professional arena, and she told me she hasn't missed work at all. Welcome, Theresa. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person and support a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. I'd like to extend a special welcome to anyone who is joining us for the first time. To learn more about our church, as well as opportunities to connect in other ways, check our website, our Facebook page, and/or sign up for our email announcements. You can contact our church office for more information. The contact information is listed in the service notes below. If you're watching on Sunday morning, we invite you to join our Zoom coffee hour after the service at 11. The information for that was sent out in our email announcement and is on one of our Facebook pages. Whether you are visiting for the first time or have been a part of this congregation for years, may this time we set apart from our everyday concerns help us see what is most important to us, in ourselves, in each other, and in the world around us.
Our call to worship today comes from Deborah Burrell. Fire consumes and casts a bright light. May our chalice flame consume our regrets for the past, our fears about the future, and our worries about today. May it light for us a path of joy and peace.
I invite you to join me in reciting the words of our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve life in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each and with all. Each week brings joy and sorrow to our lives. I invite you to take a moment to bring to mind those things that weigh heavy on your heart. And now bring to mind those things that have inspired joy and gratitude and gladness in your life. Let us take a moment as candles burn in our sanctuary to bring to our minds and our hearts the sorrows and the joys that we carry with us, whether spoken aloud or held quietly and tenderly within. In that spirit, let us join in a time of shared silence.
Please join me for a few moments of meditation or prayer. As we approach the end of 2020, this is a time of reflection, reflecting on the joys and celebrations and on the sorrows and hardships of the past year. For many, the sorrows and hardships overshadow the joys. For those who have suffered, may they find peace and comfort in the coming year. For those who celebrated, may that joy continue into the new year. May we all remember the good times and the bad, whether personally experienced or not, and prepare ourselves for a new beginning in the coming year.
Hello everyone. Today our service is about endings and new beginnings. On New Year's Eve, which is only 4 days away, adults like to say goodbye to the past year and make promises about doing things differently in the next year. I thought it might be fun to think about all the different ways to say goodbye. We of course know how to say goodbye in English, but what about in other languages? Most of you probably have heard adios. That's Spanish for goodbye. But what about arrivederci? That's Italian. Russians say "до свидания." And the French say "au revoir." If you want to say goodbye in Norwegian, you say "farvel." And in German, you say "auf Wiedersehen." If you're from Czechoslovakia, you say "spon." And if you are from Japan, you say sayonara. In Arabic, it's ma'as as-salam. And in Hawaiian, it's aloha. But aloha also means hello in Hawaiian, so that can be a little confusing. I'll bet you can think of other ways to say goodbye as well. The other thing that adults like to do at this time of year is to make promises, also called resolutions, about what they will do differently in the next year. Have you ever made a promise to do something different? If you were going to make a promise to do something differently next year, what would it be? Make better grades in school, be nicer to your family or friends, help clean the dishes, eat your vegetables, shovel the snow off your elderly neighbor's sidewalk. It doesn't have to be anything big. Sometimes the best things in life are the simplest things. I challenge you to think of something that you can do and make a promise to yourself to do something different and better next year. Aloha.
My reading today is an excerpt from The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. "Dear little man," I said to him, "you are afraid." He was afraid, there was no doubt about that, but he laughed lightly. I shall be much more afraid this evening. Once again I felt myself frozen by this sense of something irreparable, and I knew that I could not bear the thought of never hearing that laughter any more. For me, it was like a spring of fresh water in the desert. "Little man," I said, "I want to hear you laugh again." But he said to me, "Tonight it will be a year. My star, then, can be found right above the place where I came to Earth a year ago." "Little man," I said, "tell me that it is only a bad dream, this affair of the snake and the meeting place and the star." But he did not answer my plea. He said to me instead, "The thing that is important is the thing that is not seen." Yes, I know. It is just as it is with the flower. If you love a flower that lives on a star, it is sweet to look at the sky at night. All the stars are abloom with flowers. Yes, I know. It is just as it is with the water, because of the pulley and the rope. What you gave me to drink was like music. You remember how good it was? Yes, I know. And at night you look up at the stars. Where I live, everything is so small that I cannot show you where my star is to be found. It is better like that. My star will just be one of the stars for you, and so you will love to watch all the stars in the heavens. They will all be your friends. And besides, I'm going to make you a present. He laughed again. Ah, little prince, dear little prince, I love to hear that laughter. That is my present, just that. It will be as it was when we drank the water. What are you trying to say? All men have the stars, he answered, but they are not the same things for different people. For some who are travelers, the stars are guides. For others, they are no more than little lights in the sky. For others who are scholars, they are problems. For my businessman, they were wealth. But all these stars are silent. You alone, will have the stars as no one else has them. What are you trying to say? In one of the stars I shall be living. In one of them I shall be laughing. And so it will be as if all the stars were laughing when you look at the sky at night. You, only you, will have stars that can laugh. And he laughed again. And when your sorrow is comforted, time soothes all sorrows, you will be content that you have known me. You will always be my friend. You will want to laugh with me, and you will sometimes open your window so for that pleasure. And your friends will be properly astonished to see you laughing as you look up at the sky. Then you will say to them, yes, the stars always make me laugh. And they will think you are crazy. It will be a very shabby trick that I shall have played on you. And he laughed again. It will be as if, in place of the stars, I had given you a great number of little bells that knew how to laugh. And he laughed again. Then he quickly became serious. Tonight, you know, do not come. I shall not leave you, I said. I shall look as if I were suffering. I shall look a little as if I were dying. It is like that. Do not come to see that. It is not worth the trouble. I shall not leave you. But he was worried. I tell you, it is also because of the snake. He must not bite you. Snakes, they are malicious creatures. This one might bite you just for fun. I shall not leave you. But a thought came to reassure him. It is true that they have no more poison for a second bite. That night, I did not see him set out on his way. He got away from me without making a sound. And when I succeeded in catching up with him, he was walking along with a quick, resolute step. He said to me merely, "Ah, you are there," and he took me by the hand. But he was still worrying. "It was wrong of you to come. You will suffer. I shall look as if I were dead, and that will not be true." I said nothing. "You understand, it is too far. I cannot carry this body with me. It is too heavy." I said nothing. "But it will be like an old abandoned shell. There is nothing sad about old shells." I said nothing. He was a little discouraged, but he made one more effort. "You know, it will be very nice. I, too, shall look at the stars. All the stars will be wells with a rusty pulley. All the stars will pour out fresh water for me to drink." I said nothing. "That will be so amusing. You will have 500 million little bells, and I shall have 500 million springs of fresh water." And he, too, said nothing more because he was crying. "Here it is. Let me go on by myself." And he sat down because he was afraid. And then he said again, "You know, my flower, I am responsible for her, and she is so weak. She is so naive. She has 4 thorns of no use at all to protect herself against the world." I too sat down because I was not able to stand up any longer. "There now, that is all." He still hesitated a little. Then he got up. He took one step. I could not move. There was nothing there but a flash of yellow close to his ankle. He remained motionless for an instant. He did not cry out. He fell as gently as a tree falls. There was not even a sound because of the sand. I have some good news and some bad news today. It's December 27th, and there are 4 more days left in 2020. I suspect most of you are ready to say good riddance to 2020, to try to forget it and focus on a new year when we will hopefully see the end of the COVID-19 pandemic and a return to something close to normal. Unfortunately, this year will probably be remembered as one of the worst in recent history. So it's somewhat comforting to know that we only have 4 more days, and then we can put this year behind us. That's the good news. But there are 4 more days left in this year. I'm not saying that bad things are going to happen in the next 4 days, but it is 2020. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just say good riddance and forget about 2020? Maybe we can get a do-over or shut everything down and reboot. On the other hand, maybe you were lucky enough to make it through 2020 without contracting the virus, or without knowing anyone who was sick or died from the virus. Maybe you are someone who was able to keep your job and work remotely. Maybe you are someone who likes solitude and needed an excuse not to visit family for the holidays. Or maybe you're someone who buys in bulk, so you already had plenty of toilet paper at home in March. In that case, maybe 2020 doesn't seem so bad to you. Did I mention there's 4 more days left? I'm not saying that it should all be forgotten. There were some really good things that happened in 2020. As a result of COVID-19, bike sales, park visits, and pet adoptions increased. People learned how to cook meals at home. No one had to sit in the middle seat on an airplane. Working remotely meant not having to dress up or only half dressing. Parents got to spend more time with their children and vice versa. Okay, I'm guessing that some of you may not consider that last one a good thing. For some people, the election in November was a good thing. and the Black Lives Matter demonstrations demanding an end to police brutality and racial injustice, despite the deaths that instigated those demonstrations, was a good thing. Across the country, racist monuments were removed, and Mississippi finally agreed to change their state flag to remove the image of the Confederate battle flag. Congress actually passed the Great American Outdoors Act, which will provide billions in funding for the National Park Service, the Forest Service, and the Land and Water Conservation Fund. The Supreme Court surprisingly ruled that employers can't discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. And don't forget that the IRS gave us 3 extra months to get our taxes done. If we choose to say good riddance to 2020 and forget it, what about the 3.7 million U.S. children born in 2020? Or the weddings and graduations and birthdays and anniversaries that still occurred? We don't want to forget the good things. But it's hard for me to imagine anyone who hasn't been negatively affected in some way this year. At a minimum, not being able to go to a movie theater or eat out at a restaurant or having to wear a mask in public for some people was a big deal. But some of us have been affected much more than others from COVID-19. Some small business owners have permanently closed their doors. Parents have had to juggle jobs and childcare and home teaching. Teachers and students have had to figure out how to teach and learn virtually, and then in person, and then virtually again. Essential workers had to continue to work or risk losing their jobs. And then there are the nurses, doctors, and emergency workers on the front lines trying to save lives and seeing so many die away from their loved ones. You may even have a loved one who was sick or died. There have been over 15 million positive COVID-19 tests and tragically over 300,000 lives lost in the United States. In some cases, multiple members of one family have died, and many of the deaths are disproportionately affecting the elderly and communities of color. People who have been so personally affected can't just say good riddance and forget what happened. And the rest of us shouldn't either. We should also remember the other tragedies that occurred this year. We lost Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Congressman John Lewis, basketball star Kobe Bryant, movie stars Sean Connery, Kirk Douglas, and Chadwick Boseman, singers Helen Reddy, Kenny Rogers, and Charlie Pride, and even several long-term members of our own congregation. The year started with horrible wildfires in Australia, and we experienced the worst year yet for wildfires in California. A huge explosion in Beirut killed about 200 people and injured thousands more. A record number of hurricanes caused extensive damage and deaths in the southeastern United States and in other countries. Black Lives Matter demonstrations were met with counter-protests that occasionally turned violent and even deadly. And so many people have lost their jobs and risk eviction from their homes and are going hungry. Anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts are skyrocketing this year compared to 2019. So what do? Saying good riddance won't make these tragedies magically go away. Well, we can do what we usually do at this time of year. Say goodbye to 2020 and make resolutions to change things for the better. In my reading from The Little Prince, when the little prince tells the narrator that he plans to return to his planet, the narrator is concerned because in order to return, the little prince must be bitten by a poisonous snake. The narrator sees the snake bite the little prince and watches his body fall to the sand. Although the narrator is sad and will miss the little prince, the narrator is somewhat consoled when he looks at the stars because he will think about the little prince living on one of those stars. This is goodbye, not good riddance. If you were to read the entire book, you would find that the main theme of The Little Prince is that the best things in life are the simplest ones, and that real wealth is in giving to others. Most people make resolutions for the new year that are about themselves, losing weight, starting an exercise routine, things like that. But I challenge you to think about the theme from The Little Prince when you make your resolution this year. Find out who might need help and do something simple. Even a phone call can make a difference in someone's life. If you want to go beyond that and have the means, share some of your wealth with others. This could include making end-of-year donations to local charities like Self-Help, making someone a meal or some homemade cookies, or just giving a generous tip to an essential worker. Volunteer if you can do so safely. Reach out to someone in need. But if you need help, reach out to a family member or friend or members of our congregation. Social isolation doesn't have to mean loneliness. We have a caring committee at our church. Give them a call. It's almost New Year's Eve when, in a normal year, people would get together in person and sing Auld Lang Syne and make resolutions that they usually don't keep. Auld Lang Syne is a song for endings, which in turn bring new beginnings. Although it's very popular on New Year's Eve, the song is also widely used to symbolize other endings and or new beginnings, such as farewells, funerals, and memorials. And even though the lyrics are a little strange, Auld Lang Syne basically means days gone by. And the words to Auld Lang Syne tell a tale of old friends reminiscing about fun times they had in years past. Whether you choose to sing the song or not, you can choose to remember the past year, both the good and the bad, and focus on a new beginning in 2021. There are 4 more days left in 2020. What are you waiting for?
We have no special announcements this week, but please continue to check our website, UULosAlamos.org, our Facebook page, the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos, for announcements of events that occur both during the week and on Sundays. If you haven't already done so, sign up for our email announcements, also for opportunities to connect during the week. Here in this religious community, we receive gifts that nurture body, mind, and spirit. Our offering is an opportunity to share some of what we have with the wider world. Even though we are unable to meet in person, we continue to take an online offering each week to support our community partners. Our Sunday Share the Plate recipient for the month of December is Self-Help Incorporated. Since 1969, Self-Help has been serving Los Alamos, Rio Arriba, Taos, and northern Santa Fe counties by providing emergency financial assistance and seed grants to residents in need. 100% of all offered on Sundays this month will be given to Self-Help. Please use the link in the service notes below or download the Givelify app to your phone or mobile device and select the Unitarian Church as your gift recipient. May what you give bring you joy.
These closing words are from Buddha. No matter how hard the past is, you can always begin again.